It's time for the Stock Car Show on the Performance Motorsports Network. Powered by the staff at Race Chaser Online. Your motorsports, your way, every day. And now, here's your host, Tom Baker.
Let's talk racing as the Stock Car Show gets underway for another Monday evening here on the Performance Motorsports Network Handspreaker. My name is Tom Baker, and I am joined in the Race Chaser studios here in Mooresville, North Carolina by Jacob Seelman from Speed Sport and Randy Miller over there behind the glass punching buttons, and he will be joining in as well as we carry on with conversation throughout the show, and Chris Murdoch handling the video capabilities quite suitably. We are going to be joined as we progress with this show. We're going to be joined by Minnie Tyrrell at 7:30, and Minnie is going to have some conversation about the Cars Tour opening show coming up at Southern National Motorsports Park here in North Carolina this weekend, and he'll also talk a little bit about other things he's got going on this season. So we got a lot to get to. Unfortunately, it's always a bummer when you have to start with some bad news, but we do try to start the show with what's in the news today in the sport, and unfortunately the big news story of the day is not a good one. Tanner Thorson, who many know from the open wheel side of things, dirt track side of things, but has also spent some time here lately in NASCAR running in the truck series, was in a major automobile accident. And definitely, this is one of those scenarios where you look at the pictures and you say, well, thank God, he's still with us, Jacob. But, he's got some broken bones and certainly banged himself up quite a bit.
Yeah, and good evening, everybody. This obviously is not how you want to start a show, as you referenced right off the top. But the good news is you're correct that Tanner is expected to heal and make a full recovery. It's just going to take a little while. The reports that we've gotten today from California Highway Patrol were that he was drowsy at the wheel, didn't slow in enough time in a construction zone, and the front end of his truck ended up in the back end of a milk truck. But as you mentioned, a lot of pictures from the Sacramento NBC affiliate out there showing that Tanner's indeed extremely fortunate to not be hurt any worse than he is. Briefly talked to his parents earlier today for the report that we put on Speed Sport, and they confirmed that they were en route to the hospital and that Tanner was scheduled for surgery. It's about all we know at this point, but the good news is again that it seems to, at least the Highway Patrol report referenced that the injuries are not life-threatening for Tanner, which obviously is very good. The bad news, of course, is that he's likely going to have to sit out of the race car for a little while. But, race cars are there to come back to. It's a whole lot harder to put people back together. So,
yeah, it really is.
I think we just all take this as a reminder of how quickly not just things in the sport can change, but things in life can happen and change in a hurry, and offer best wishes for Tanner on as quick a recovery as he can make here. Was scheduled to race the Shamrock Classic for USAC Midgets up in Du Quoin, where I'm going to be this weekend. Obviously that will not happen, and we'll have to wait, but had spent a lot of time last year in the truck series, made I think 11 truck series starts last year for Young's Motorsports, and I think we hope to see him at some point back on the NASCAR side, but he had kind of turned his focus back to the USAC Trail this year and was going to run for the title with Clyde Lamar, and now more than likely those title hopes will be somewhat dashed, at least for this year.
Yeah, the passenger in the milk truck, according to the reports that we saw, suffered some minor injuries. So first of all, we just thank the Lord that it appears as though in terms of life-threatening injuries, there aren't any, at least that we understand now. Second of all, I think we just are thankful that everybody's as good as they are, and that we do send our prayers out to Tanner and to the other person who was injured as well, and hopefully everybody will heal up in good time, and we can move on and hopefully get Tanner back in the racetrack. So all the best wishes to Tanner Thorson from this morning. We move on with the show now and start to unpack for a little while what took place in Vegas. We're going to violate the traditional rule that what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, because if we obeyed that rule, we wouldn't have much to talk about tonight.
Because there really wasn't much else that happened this week.
No, there really wasn't. Well, there were a few little things we can touch on later in the lightning round, but NASCAR certainly the focus this weekend in Vegas, though I did manage to watch the entirety of the Monster Energy Supercross event from Atlanta as well, and just some amazing driving going on in that. We'll touch on that later too. But anyway, back to Vegas, and we'll start with, I guess, just an overall discussion on the Cup side. I'm going to start with a question. We'll throw it around the table. I'll start with Randy Miller over on the production side of the tech shed. Randy, was this race better than you expected, what you expected, or worse than you expected, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, coming off of, Atlanta, knowing that we were going to a track where the package changed a little bit again, we were actually, you're pretty much starting at zero. Like, you have no idea what to expect. Based on previous races at Vegas, and I actually interacted with some people on a post that NASCAR and NBC posted earlier today when Joey was talking about how it was good to be able to win or whatever, and a lot of people on there, Tom, yourself included, also made some comments about what we thought about the product, and it rattled some brains, but I don't take it back. Basically, what I said was, because it's crazy, because no matter what NASCAR does, obviously people are not going to be happy about the product, no matter what. And obviously NASCAR can't please 33 million people or however many people watch the sport, but the vast majority is what they're trying to please, and it never fails. No matter what happens, somebody always has an opinion about how bad the sport is, or how horrible the race was, or whatever. But from my perspective, having watched previous years in Vegas, the racing sucked. I mean, it was a horrible race, a boring race for most of the time. And I don't know what people want. I mean, you got we saw almost the same, a similar finish to what we saw last week with Atlanta, where another 500 feet and Brad Keselowski may have won the race. But it was close racing. Yes, they lapped half the field, but I mean, this race last year they probably would have lapped the entire field. So I don't know what most NASCAR fans want. Me, being somebody who's watched it my entire life, we're going in the right direction. And if we keep going the way we're going, the races later in the year will be just as exciting as we want them to be.
Jacob?
The way you worded your question, it's kind of a trick question.
Well, I thought it was a pretty simple question. Either you thought it was better than you expected it was going to be, it was basically what you expected it to be, or it wasn't as good. Which is it for you?
It's a combination of two. It was better than I hoped it would be, but it was also exactly what I expected it would be. I'll explain.
Please do.
It was better than I hoped because it actually was somewhat entertaining. However, it was exactly what I expected it to be in the landscape of everybody who thought we were going to get pack racing. I wanted to shake them and go, come on, listen, nobody ever promised you pack racing. You just somewhere along the way believed that was what you were going to get. No, that's not what this was meant to do. It was meant to get the cars closer together, yes. It was meant to make passing easier, yes. Now, that is questionable whether that actually got accomplished if you ask some drivers, but
wait a minute.
Numbers don't lie. Anyway.
Okay, there. Because I was going to say the stat boy isn't going to. You're going to pick
getting
this
there.
One time not to do stats.
Oh no, I'm getting.
Because the stats sell the product here.
I'm getting there. Trust me.
We only got 2.5 minutes.
I know. It was not meant to be pack racing. So in that respect, it was exactly what I expected it to be, because I expected them eventually to string out somewhat, and they did. However, it was better than last year. Again, numbers don't lie. Last year we had 9, count them, that many, 9 green flag passes for the lead in 267 laps. This year we had 47
correct
green flag passes for the lead in 267 laps. That is more than 500% better than 2018 in the spring, and we had almost a 50% increase in total green flag passes for position throughout the entire 400 miles.
That would be almost 1,000 for those of you wanting a better...
It was like 2,300 and change to 3,300 and change.
It was almost 1,000.
Yes. So, and now, granted, that does include green flag pit stops. However, every year that we've counted that stat, it also includes green flag pit stops. And last year, we had a couple rounds of green flag pit stops, too. So you're comparing apples to apples here. This was a better race, but I loved that at the end of it, Steve O'Donnell said, were we encouraged? Yes. But do we realize we have a lot more to do yet? Absolutely. And that, to me, says that for once, NASCAR's not being complacent. And I like that.
Well, and I've got about a minute with mine, and I'm going to say that I thought it was far better than I expected, and yet it was extremely boring, and I'm going to tell you why it was. We all got tricked into thinking that just because we make the cars closer, somehow this is going to be a better race. We didn't have any caution flags. So this is why we lapped most of the field. This is why all of those stats about the cars that got lapped and all of that are very misleading because we didn't have any caution flags to close the field.
A couple years ago, we didn't have any caution flags either. I don't want to hear it.
I will finish my analyzation of this when we come back from break. You're listening to the Stock Car Show, presented, oh, by the way, by mycomputercareer.edu and HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsport safety. We'll be right back.
You own a performance car and you know how to drive, but you want to learn real performance driving. Well, Bunky, get that car off the street and onto the track. Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier road racing facility, located just over an hour from D.C. in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, is the place to go. And you'll find that Friday at the Track is going to give you what you need. For less than a monthly car payment, you can attend this regularly scheduled one-day instructional event in your street car on one of Summit Point's 3 world-class road racing circuits. You'll receive classroom instruction, skid pad instruction in their cars, including front and rear skid control, and 4 20-minute in-your-car instructional sessions from a professional instructor. Have fun, go fast, and really learn how to drive. Call 304-725-8444 for class schedules and details. That's 304-725-8444. Friday at the Track at Summit Point Motorsports Park.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on 2 things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Here's an important message from RAD and this station.
Hi, this is Bob Sheehan from Blues Traveler for RAD, Recording Artists Against Drunk Driving. I like to party just as much as the next guy, maybe even more. But the one thing I won't do after I've had a few is get in the car and drive. Don't blow it. Always choose a designated driver. Remember, music lives, and so should you.
Automotive technicians and auto service trainees, how would you like to work at the beach and perform for one of the best car care centers in the nation? Louis Meineke is now looking for skilled automotive technicians to join their award-winning team. If you're a gearhead that knows his or her stuff or a young up-and-comer that has the motivation and drive to succeed, then you need to make this call today. 302-827-2054. Louis Meineke Car Care Center, located in beautiful Lewis, Delaware, offers a highly competitive compensation plan, great benefits, a flexible schedule, and did we mention that you're going to be working at the beach? Plus, there's a signing bonus for the right candidates. Technicians must be ASE certified and have a minimum of 6 years experience. Beginners advance at your own pace in one of several entry-level positions. But whatever you do, don't wait. These jobs will go fast. Call Tim at 302-827-2054. That's 302-827-2054. Louis Meineke Car Care Center. Rev up your career.
Hi, I'm Tyler Reddick, and you're listening to Race Talk on the Performance Motorsports Network.
We'll talk about Tyler Reddick here in a
Yes,
little while.
let's.
But we're talking Cup right now, and I posed a question in our last segment, in case you're just joining us. I posed the question to the group here, Jacob Seelman, Randy Miller, of course, and myself, Tom Baker, as to whether we thought the Cup race was better than we expected, what we expected, or not as good as we expected. And I'll recap my analysis beginning from the last segment so I can kind of unconfuse a few people who I know are thinking, well, you think it was boring because there were no cautions. No. Hang on. Here's the deal. Anybody who thinks this race was boring and didn't have any passing is full of bull, because as Jacob pointed out in the last segment, there were almost 1,000 more total passes, and there were about 38 more passes for the lead than there were a year ago in the same race. So obviously there was way more passing. Here's why it felt boring, and this is why I said it was better than I expected, and yet it seemed boring. We didn't have any caution flags. So what happens here is the further you go into a run, obviously, the cars are going to spread out just a little bit, but not nearly as much as they have in the past, and there's not as much racing, and then you get toward the end of the stage, and everybody steps it up again a little bit because everybody wants stage points. So here's the whole thing that I look at with this situation. I think we have two issues in NASCAR that we're going to start talking more about as we get further into the season, because this package is going to solve the problem of the field spreading out as much as it used to. It's going to keep everybody at least a little bit closer, I believe. Here are the two things we're going to be talking about. Number one, the races are too doggone long, okay? This is going to really expose the fact that with the cars as good as they are now and as drivable as they are now, with as few cautions as we usually have and as few blown motors and as few issues we usually have, the races are just too long. We need to shorten the races. Number two, we're going to start talking about the fact that, okay, now we got a package that seems to be apt to keep the cars a little closer, but they're still too good. So how do you make them less good? Let me tell you. You get rid of the stupid splitter. You raise the ride height and get the front ends up off the ground so that now the cars don't grip the track. The cars it's not as much about aero. You're getting back to mechanical grip again. Make the cars much harder to drive, because right now they're just, it's really difficult to spin a car out. Oh yeah, okay, if somebody messes with your air, why should it be that? I want people to spin out because, frankly, they just ran out of talent going into two.
And see,
that's what I want.
This is the problem that we have. And I saw this Twitter discussion in the final 50 laps yesterday. Somebody made the comment, there has to be a caution before the end of this, right? And our friend Matt Weaver from Auto Week so eloquently pointed out, as only Matt can, keep dreaming. These cars are planted.
Yeah, and that's the problem.
Too much downforce. Yeah. When you lower the horsepower, it makes them easier to drive.
Exactly.
You aren't going to spin a car out by yourself with this package. And that's, I feel like that's going to lead to even more of what we saw on Sunday, which is, other than the stage breaks, you're not going to see natural cautions very much, if at all, unless somebody does what Cole Custer did to Brandon Jones in the Xfinity race, but we can talk about that later.
I was going to say, we can deal with that later, but yeah. I just think that's the biggest problem, guys. I think the races are too long, and I think you're going to see that we're going to start talking about the splitters more and more, because this exposed the idea that we can actually keep the cars closer, obviously less horsepower, and just making them the way that they are now, you're going to keep the field a little closer. What was Todd Gordon's stat was very telling here. I think it was the leader was 6 seconds
roughly. I think Harvick was roughly 6 seconds gone at the end of the race a year ago.
And the top
Sunday
four
the top four were within
2 seconds. Yeah, so it was definitely much closer, Randy. And I just think what this will do, if nothing else, is it will start exposing, just like peeling layers of an onion. you're going to start seeing, okay, well, here's where we need to work next. And I think distances of races, and I think the whole splitter thing, they're going to be a part of the forefront of the discussion as we get into the later part of this season. Randy, do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. And there's been a lot of talk. I've heard rumors and stories and people, making gossip about, what would happen in 2021 when the schedule gets completely, supposedly uprooted and redone and all that. And there's a lot of things that, will have to happen in order for that stuff to go on. But this will give NASCAR, at least a year and a half or so to actually think, okay, we've got some of the other technical stuff worked out. Let's work on some of the television stuff and work on, the viewership kind of thing. And get more people interested in the sport because, having somebody who, goes to the races all the time or used to go at least to Texas all the time, Vegas and California and Michigan and those cookie cutter tracks, my air quotes, are the kind of tracks where if you don't see the caution flag, even sitting in the stands, you get restless, you get tired, you get, I just want to go home. I just want this day to end. Why can't it rain? Whatever. And that's kind of the way it is. These people spend
why can't it rain?
$300, $400, $500. Yeah, I mean,
I
whatever.
never pray
Snow,
for rain. I don't care.
Tornado, whatever. But the people spend a lot of money to take their family to races. Yeah. They want entertainment, but more so they want maybe a shorter day so that they're not outside or they're not out with their family for And
it's a tough thing because I think I don't think there's a way to make racing a mile-and-a-half track so incredibly exciting that everybody goes, ooh, this is great, leave them the distance. I think there's just, we've hit the point where we can't, and we also can't make the cars so bad, I don't think at this point, that, we can leave the distances. I just think we've kind of hit the proverbial wall to where the cars are just, like you said, they're planted. And even if you mess up the front ends and make them a little bit looser and less stable, you can't go back to complete boxes for bodies like we used to have in the 70s and 80s. So, and the reason somebody will say, well, why can't you? Well, here's why. And this is also, I'll address the horsepower issue too. Don't blame NASCAR for the bodies and don't blame NASCAR for the horsepower. Here's why. Go look at your street car. Your street cars are now round, egg-shaped, flying saucers, and the motors in them are no longer big V8 gas guzzlers unless you're driving an F-150. Okay, all of even the bigger cars, they all have lower horsepower, much more efficient motors, and the manufacturers are pushing NASCAR to go more in that direction. Because then they can, again, use the racing to start innovating for your street car, you see.
Absolutely.
So if you really want to see cars that look like what we had in the 70s or 80s and you want to see motors that are, 900 horsepower again, well, don't bother NASCAR. They can't do anything about that. Let's go and knock on the doors at Chevy, Ford, and whoever else, and Toyota and whatever, and let's get them to start making the street cars look like that again, because this is the whole purpose of the Gen 7 now, and the talk of new motor and whatever is to, again, bring it closer to what's actually on the street. Ding. So you can like or dislike that that's where it's going, but just understand that the source of your problem is not NASCAR in Daytona Beach. It's the manufacturers who are doing this, and that's what's leading the charge here. So,
can you really blame them? I mean, once upon a time, NASCAR was simply that, a way to evaluate and for the showroom.
Right. Well, and that's, again, you got to be careful what you wish for, because that's all we've heard about, right, Randy, as fans. They need to be more like the street cars again. They need to be more win on Sunday, drive, buy it on Monday. Well, guess what? That's where we're going, and that's why we have lower horsepower motors. And so what we have to do is we have to find a way to make the race car a little bit less perfect and find a way to make them harder to drive so that we do see the guys on the ragged edge again. I didn't get the sense that anybody was on the ragged edge at all in the Cup race.
No.
Except for when they got in just the right position with somebody else's air and then the cars got squirrely. So, or
Kyle Busch went 4 wide because he was mad because he sped.
Yeah, that too. But, I mean, that's really where we're at right now with this. So, for me, I thought it was better. I also dozed off in the first part of the first segment.
Well, yeah, because Kevin Harvick left by 6 seconds.
Well, and it wasn't. Well, I was also really tired. But I mean, those long, when everybody starts spreading out, nobody's racing, you get tricked into going, well, this is really boring. Well, there's actually a lot of passing going on. You're just not watching all of it,
or not seeing it because
right. Well, I just said
television
you're not watching
coverage is not.
You can't show 40 cars at the same time.
No, you can't. But you can pick and choose sometimes some better things than just focusing on the lead 2 or 3 cars all day, which is a whole nother discussion that we can have at a later point because everybody was complaining about the Fox broadcast and has been for the last couple weeks.
Yeah, we can get to that because I have some thoughts on that too, or at least thoughts on the people who are complaining. We've got about a minute left in this segment, so rather than get into any other topics, what I'm going to say is if any of you who are listening to or watching this show want to have a debate with us, well, here's how you do it. Okay, at Race Chaser Media on Facebook, on Twitter, or go to Instagram and send some sort of a picture and put a little text there and say hi to us.
Typically.
But, follow us on all of those sources and, of course, our YouTube channel as well. At Race Chaser Media. Also, all of our shows are back cataloged on there if you missed any. And if you want to just listen to them, you can go to Spreaker. Just go to Spreaker is probably the best way to go. Just download the Spreaker app, or if you've got an Android phone, we have our own app for Spreaker. Race Chaser Radio is what you want to do with that. With that, we will be back around the turn. We're going to talk Xfinity and we're going to talk truck. We're going to have all kinds of conversation. But, of course, first, we're going to talk to Mini Tyrrell, and that's coming up in a moment here on the Stock Car Show presented by HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsport safety.
Do you love the sound of high-revving motors and the smell of burning rubber? Do you want to get your car sideways right at the ragged edge of control? If you've always wanted to try drifting or learn to improve your drifting skills, Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier motorsports facility, has the expert instructors and the specialized track to teach you how to drift and the skills necessary to drift competitively. From skid pad to open sessions, Summit Point Motorsports Park has the safe and open environment that allows drifters of all skill levels, new to intermediate, to get sideways and smoking. With a focus on safety and the skill set necessary to drift competitively, Summit Point Motorsports Park's Drift Nirvana is just the thing for you. Call for your reservation today, 304-725-8444. Or for more information, go online, summitpoint-raceway.com, or you can email them at office@bsrinc.com. Drift Nirvana, getting you sideways the right way.
HMS Motorsport is the leader in motorsport safety. HMS serves a majority of Monster Energy NASCAR Cup, Xfinity, Camping World Truck, IndyCar, and IMSA WeatherTech teams, as well as countless SCCA and club-level racers and driving enthusiasts throughout North America. Featuring world-renowned brands like Schuberth helmets, Schroep belts, Adidas suits and shoes, Lifeline fire systems, and even Racecom radio kits, HMS has the right product for your type of racing and your budget. Their representatives are experts on only one thing, making your track driving as safe as possible. With locations in Mooresville, North Carolina, and Danvers, Massachusetts, the HMS staff is always ready to take the time to help you find the right product for your safety needs. Don't settle for second when it comes to motorsport safety. Stop in to HMS Motorsport. Visit them on their website at hmsmotorsport.com or send them a message on Facebook and tell them the folks from PMN Radio sent you.
What an awesome game. What's up with your car? I don't know. It won't start. How are we getting home? Chill. My parents signed me up for the roadside assistance from Lewis Meineke. It was free with my oil change. They'd come and get the car started or get us home and tow the car to the shop.
Good to know. With my driving, my parents never know what to expect.
When you join the Meineke Car Care Club with a $35 preferred service, you get 4 free months of roadside assistance, including tire change, battery jump, lockout service, towing, and more. Contact Lewis Meineke, located on Route 1, or call 827-2054.
When do you think of a plumber? Like most people, even if it's an emergency, you can be confident about who will arrive to help you. For quality and reliability, count on someone you can trust. Call on the plumbing services of Hague Quality Water of Maryland. Plumbing doesn't have to be an emergency. We handle all kinds of preventative maintenance too. Hague Quality Water of Maryland is family owned here in Annapolis since 1993. For a refreshing choice, call us at 888-84-WATER or visit us online.
COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, is a lung disease that robs people of their ability to breathe. As many as 24 million Americans suffer from COPD, also known as chronic bronchitis or emphysema, and half of them don't know they have the disease. If you or someone you love is over 35 and has smoked more than 100 cigarettes in their lifetime, visit driveforcopd.org and take the screener, then take that to your doctor. I'm Jeff Stoltz, and I drive for COPD.
Hi, I'm John Holloman, and you're listening to Race Talk on the Performance Motorsports Network. Now back to the show.
Welcome back to the Stock Car Show, presented by HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsports safety. You can find them on the web at hmsmotorsport.com. If you have any type of a need for driver safety gear, radios, just about anything you could imagine along that line, HMS Motorsport, not only the experts in what they sell, but experts in the industry, period. They will give you the right advice and sell you only the right equipment for your particular situation. So go to hmsmotorsport.com and check them out and tell them that the folks from Race Chaser Radio sent you. And with that, we go to the Race Chaser phone line, and we have a chat with Minnie Tyrrell as we welcome Minnie back to the program. I think the second time Minnie's been on with us, and we're really excited about having Minnie back again because, one, he's an amazing orator for 14 years old, but two, he's just a nice kid, so we like talking to him. Minnie, welcome back to the show.
Hang on, there's a third reason.
Oh, there is? What's the third one?
Well, he's kind of running in a big race this weekend.
Well, yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. Minnie, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's good to have you back. I think the last time you had to skip out of a restaurant while your family was eating dinner. Hopefully this time we got you in a little bit more comfortable place where you can relax and chill with us for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we're good right now.
Okay. So first of all, let's start with the current. You are starting a full season run, your first full season run with the Cars Tour. This coming weekend at Southern National Motorsports Park in Kenneally, North Carolina. And I know that you're excited about this, probably for a couple of reasons. One, because it's your first full season running with the Cars Tour, and especially being a part of their Touring 12 commitment program, but also because you have a win at Southern National, so this is a track that you're pretty comfortable with.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we had a win in a limited late model there 2 years ago. And, that really kind of boosts my confidence that much more going into this one, especially because we ran the Thanksgiving Classic in the late model division on Thanksgiving last year. So and we did very well in that. Unfortunately, we had a part failure in the rear end, which caused us to be loose all weekend. But we qualified top 10, right in ninth, and, held our own for a little bit until the car finally gave out.
Minnie, going into a weekend like you're about to embark on, you talk about the positive experience from the Thanksgiving Classic. I mean, how big of a confidence builder is that for you, just from a standpoint of knowing, hey, we can go out and do this on a bigger stage?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think just being able to, obviously this is the Cars Tour, you're running against the best of the best drivers in the business, period. And you're going to go up against the best of the best equipment and drivers at the same time. And there's going to be a lot of big teams there. So once I ran there with the same amount of guys and the same kind of competition as the Thanksgiving Classic, obviously you're missing a few drivers who are very good also who are in the Cars Tour. And we ran really well, which really says, hey, we can do this. We've got a great car. We got a great team, and also, boost my confidence a little bit to get out there and even do well.
What did you find from your experience at Kenley? What makes the track unique? What challenged you? What were your impressions overall of the racetrack?
I love Kenley. I think I've said this multiple times. It's probably one of my favorite racetracks to race at, and if not my favorite. I really think it's just the quickness of the place. Obviously it's not the fastest racetrack, but the banking, you really do feel like you're just touching the brake and right back to the throttle. So it's very quick, and I really like the way the turn kind of feels when you come off and you really lay down on that gas. It's really cool.
Well, you've got an opportunity here, obviously, for a full season run for a championship in the Cars Tour, and I guess Rookie of the Year too, right? Because you've only made one or two other starts for the series.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so basically 2 big honors there, and this will be the first time, I think, probably in 2 years, 3 years, that you've actually run for a championship.
Yes, sir. It'll be, I believe it's the second year or maybe even 3. I'm sorry, don't even know. But yeah, we'll be able to run for a championship this year, and obviously not also at one particular track. We'll be going over and getting experience at multiple different tracks that I've not yet been to. So I've been to Kenley, South Boston, Carteret County, Shenandoah Speedway, things like that. I'll be able to run Dominion Raceway in a late model. I've never run that in a late model car, but I've been to the racetrack and running in a USAC midget car, so I'll be a little familiar with that place. And also the road course that they are introducing this year is going to be really fun.
I know everybody's kind of excited that the road course isn't a points race, just because it would seem to be a little bit of a wild card. But that's got to be exciting for you, knowing that it's really a level playing field, because it's not just you that doesn't know what to expect. Nobody knows what to expect with that.
No, absolutely. No, it's going to be completely different. Obviously, going to new racetracks and exploring with late model cars on these racetracks, nobody's going to know what really to have the car set up to. I don't think there's going to be a car that rolls off the trailer is going to be super great or, obviously very fast. So
yeah.
It's going to be a learning experience for, every single one of our drivers. So we're all back in our learning states of the racetrack.
I know another big thing for you going into this Cars Tour title run is the fact that you were picked as one of the Touring 12 drivers for this year, and especially as a rookie your age, that's got to be a really big honor for you and for your team.
No, absolutely. I think it's a very big accomplishment as myself in my career. Obviously, to be able to be accepted with many different drivers who are very experienced and well known across the industry. I think it's going to be a great experience for our team this year. I would love to do it again in the next season, and obviously continue being a part of the Touring 12 and representing the Cars Tour.
Well, I know that there's probably a pretty good chance you could do that. I think you've talked about how many good teams there are, but you've got a good team of your own behind you. Talk about the effort that you guys are putting in and who you got working for you, because you got a crew chief who has a whole lot of knowledge.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, I wouldn't be standing here without my team to this day. I've got, my car chief, Dan Givens, and my crew chief, Brandon Butler. Obviously, my dad and my parents who work very hard for us. I could go through the whole list. We have a ton of crew members that volunteer their time to come out and support me. But, no, absolutely. Brandon Butler is very experienced. He knows what to do when he gets to the racetrack, and I've worked very well with him. And these guys, my dad, myself, and Dan, and our electrician has been working on our trailer to get it ready for, this past, couple of weeks. They've been staying up till midnight, and absolutely working their tail off. And I tell you what, I could not be standing where I am and been to the racetrack without these guys.
Well, I know that all of them really work hard for you, but you've worked pretty hard yourself for a while. You started racing late models at 9 years old, right? How does that even happen, Minnie?
Well, I actually wouldn't even probably be racing late models right now currently without Sam Beatty. He was I was over at his house, and this is how the story was. And I was bush hogging his lawn, and I knew Sam from previous ways, and I was just over hanging out, and Sam's a really good guy. I would go over and hang out with him anytime, and really cool and nice. But so I was bush hogging his yard, and the old '81 car was sitting in the garage, and had the layer of dust on it. And I looked at it, and I said, "Hey, when am I putting this car out on the racetrack? I want to drive it." He goes, "You know what? Bring me a seat. We'll put you in it." And I was like, "You might be serious." And he's like, "All right, well, when are we going?" So we drive to the Butler Built in North Carolina, and we go down there, and we built the seats. We got one made, and we went out and tested in that. And so I think that was where it all started. Was just performing a Sam Beatty's yard and saying, "Hey, when am I driving that?"
I don't know what's more remarkable, Jacob, the fact that he started racing a late model at 9 years old, or the fact he was actually bush hogging someone's yard at 9 years old.
Both, maybe.
Yeah, both.
Both.
I mean, that's what were you bush hogging someone's yard at 9 years old? What's that all about?
I don't know. I go over there all the time to Sam's and help him out, and because the man does so much for us. At least I could do is mow his grass.
All you listeners out there, there's a hard-working kid for you. I wonder how many other kids listening to this show, even at 15 or 16, actually bush hog or mow anybody's yard, let alone 9 years old. Exactly. So you ran a full season, I think, at 10, right, at Shenandoah? Is that
Yes, sir. We ran a full season. We had the car rebuilt through that over that winter when I was 9, and I turned 10, and we ran a full season and started out back almost every single race, and just tried to get as much learning experience as I can, and we came out and we finished second in the points in our first, running series, and we got 2 wins.
Wow, at 10 years old, amazing. Okay, we're gonna just ask Minnie to hang on. We'll let him go finish bush hogging a yard, and we're gonna step aside. When we come back, we're gonna talk more with Minnie Tyrrell as the Stock Car Show continues here on Performance Motorsports Network and Spreaker.
Everywhere you go, you hear it, and you see it. It's coming at you through your phone, your tablet, and your computer. It's broadcast from your favorite radio station, TV networks, and cable companies. It's in the stadiums, the arenas, the ballparks. It screams for your attention at the mall. It's interactive on Main Street. It's even coming at you from the gas pump at the nearby convenience store. What is it? It's digital content. It's digital content. It's digital content. Somebody has to create it. Somebody has to manage it. So whether your dream is to write it, design it, create it, call it, produce it, voice it, host it, light it, shoot it, switch it, record it, color correct it, edit it, code it, repurpose it, tweet it, blog it, post it, compress it, upload it, replay it, or make sure it gets to where it's got to go when it's got to get there in the format it's got to be in, you need to attend
Carolina School of Broadcasting.
The skills you will learn, the experience you will get, and the connections you will make at Carolina School of Broadcasting will open the doors to the career you want in digital content creation and digital content management. Call or come by today. Click csbradiotv.edu.
Parents, your son or daughter has had their license for a while now, but you want to make sure they're prepared for any situation they may face on the road. High school driver's ed doesn't teach them to drive defensively. They need to be prepared for any highway emergency. For less than a month's insurance, and a whole lot less, BSR instructors at Summit Point Motorsports Park in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, will teach your son or daughter how to respond instantly and positively to unexpected situations on the road. BSR's specialized accident avoidance training teaches swerve to avoid maneuvers at highway speeds, ocular driving, which focuses driving attention on ways to avoid accidents, vehicle dynamics and feedback, skid control and skid recovery, threshold braking on straights and progressive braking on curves, and off-road recovery techniques. This is stuff driver's ed simply doesn't teach. So call BSR today, 304-725-8444. Give your kid the skill set needed to drive safely and responsibly on the highway. That's 304-725-8444.
This is a test to find out if you know it all when it comes to children. Name one of the leading killers of U.S. children age 1 to 13. What's the best way to protect children in a car crash? At what age and size should a child start using a booster seat?
Don't assume you know it all when it comes to car seats for your child. Go to safercar.gov/the-right-seat and know for sure. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Tyler Dippel, and you're listening to the Performance Motorsports Network. Now back to the show.
I'll let Tom dance.
Yeah, I mean, you got to dipple when it's time. That was Tyler Dipple. It's dippling.
I'm
That's
tired.
what we do here.
I'm tired, so you'll excuse me if I don't dipple.
No fun. You didn't dipple a couple of weeks ago either. You're just no fun anymore. Jacob, welcome back to the Stock Car Show, presented by HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsport safety. You can find them on the web at hmsmotorsport.com, and apparently presented by Dippling, which we'll talk more about later. We'll teach. We'll teach Mini Tyrrell how to dipple when he finally gets down here and gets in the studio with us for a show. Welcome back, Minnie, and talking a little bit about what's going on with you this year on the Cars Tour, and then we were kind of into your background a little bit. You started at age 10 or age 9 and then ran a full season at age 10. I guess it's probably fair to say you didn't really hit your stride till you were, 12?
I guess you could say that. Yeah, I guess that's when we started kind of venturing out and getting really into it.
But does it ever seem really strange to you that you've always been about 4 to 30 years behind all the rest of the drivers in age on the track and yet running up front with them?
Oh, no. I mean, I look at it as like I look at everybody else, and we're all 3,100 pounds in a stock car, and I feel like no matter what my age is, I think you should treat me absolutely how you treat any other driver on the racetrack. And I'm not going to race anybody dirty. I'll always race them clean and with respect, and that's how I want to be raced.
Well, you probably got a lot more weight on your race car than many of them to get to that 3,100 pounds, right? But definitely a talented driver. So I want to talk a little bit about some off-track things here for you real quick. Of course, you've always been excited and really committed to the idea of fundraising through Minnie's mission. And that's had a lot to do with childhood and pediatric cancers, right? And then now with your association with Race Face Brand Development, Friends of Jaclyn has become a very important part of what you're doing and the rest of the Race Face drivers are doing as well. What can you tell us about Friends of Jaclyn?
No, absolutely. Friends of Jaclyn is a nonprofit organization where what happens is it's about improving the quality of life for children. What happens is all the money doesn't go directly to pediatric research. It goes to getting the children out to a sports team. So hold on, let me pause and go back. So Friends of Jaclyn was created because Jaclyn, who is the star of the show, had brain tumors, and she was in the hospital, and she got paired up with a lacrosse team, and they took care of her, and she became, almost like the mascot or the cheer on kind of person, and has been to many games with that lacrosse team. So what happened is now her father created the Friends of Jaclyn Foundation, where they pair a sick child with a sports team, or let's say whatever their interest is. It could be anything, like a monster truck driver, dirt bike, whatever. So what they do is they take the child, they give them a special weekend with the sports team. They get to show them all around. And so Race Face is partnering with the Friends of Jaclyn Foundation this year to improve the quality of life for children who are sick.
And you're actually, each of you drivers are going to actually adopt a child. Is that correct? And that's kind of your child, your family that you're going to be working with and caring about.
Yes, sir. Sorry about that. Anyway, the dogs are going crazy. But, yes, so each driver in Race Face is going to be adopting a child. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the child and, obviously invite them to races, do special things with them. Obviously get to see the race car and things like that. But the child doesn't just get one weekend or, one thing with the team or with the drivers. They become a lifetime friend. They become like a brother or a sister to them. So, obviously exchange phone numbers, you get phone calls, text messages back and forth. It's not just a one-time thing. You're now attached to that child for life.
Yeah.
And obviously you take care of them. And obviously I can't wait. I hosted Tyler Bloom at Richmond and still talk to him to this day, and will forever be a lifetime friend of mine. I think it's very cool. I love that all of the race face drivers are in on this program and excited to do this, because I feel like it needs to be done, and it's very very important that a sick child gets to go out and do these things.
Yeah, that's just awesome for the children and their families. And what's cool is, there's enough of you that are going to be kind of working together on this. RaceFace going to have a major impact, I think, on this program, and all of you drivers will get to kind of work in conjunction with each other to support each other's kids. So it'll really be like one big family as it builds. So that's an awesome program. It is really an amazing foundation. If anyone out there would like to know more about Friends of Jaclyn, they can look that up and go to their website and check it out. And of course, you've got an opportunity for them to donate as well in conjunction with your particular part of the program, right, Minnie?
Yes, sir. Obviously, I encourage you to go to the Friends of Jaclyn website, and or you can go to my website and go to the Burn Rubber tab, I believe it is, and then you can go to the Friends of Jaclyn and read all about it. I really do encourage you guys to go out and watch the HBO interviews with Jaclyn and Dennis. It will really give you an insight on what the Friends of Jaclyn Foundation is and how it goes in effect.
Actually brought a tear to my eye, Jacob, when I started reading about this. It's really, there are so many really awesome charities and foundations out there, but this one is just amazing.
There really are, and I just wanted to add the little tidbit that it's not just on the short track side that this initiative has been promoted lately, through Minnie's association and through RaceFace brand development, but the Friends of Jaclyn Foundation actually has been featured in the first 3 truck races this year with Nice Motorsports, and Timothy Peters driving the 44 truck. So it's really gained a lot of nationwide steam, and just great to see what that whole program is doing right now.
Yeah, it's amazing. It just you see the kids and just read about their situations, and it just makes you count your blessings. It really is an amazing program. Okay, so let's get back to the racing for a little bit, Minnie, with you, and talk a little bit about going forward. Now, you've run on, as you said, you've run on some of the tracks that the Cars Tour is going to be competing on this year, but you haven't run on all of them. Is there a particular track that you have not run on that the Cars Tour is going to be racing at that you're particularly looking forward to going and racing, other than you mentioned the road course at Dominion, which I'm sure is going to be quite a trip? Is there another track that you're really excited about that you have not been to yet?
Yeah, absolutely. I think good old Hickory Motor Speedway. I've heard a lot about that place. I've never been there in person. I watched many videos on the cars and how they get around there. I'm very excited to go try it out. I hear that it's pretty bumpy, so we'll see how that plays out. Hopefully, I get some advice here from some different drivers on what line to take and things like that. So, but they're looking up to it. I know it's been around for a while, and very excited. One of the legendary places that they run, and also for the throwback cars. I'm also excited to do that this year.
Yeah, we don't want you to give away any secrets before it's time.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you guys will plan a really cool throwback, and that race that they do, the Cars Tour does at Hickory every year, is just awesome. And the throwback paint scheme, similar to what the Cup Series does at Darlington. Hickory is definitely a cool track, Minnie. You'll love it. Both corners are late apex corners, and it's a good old-fashioned driver's racetrack. It takes a lot of driver talent to get around it. It's not all about horsepower like some of the bigger tracks are that you'll run.
Yes, sir. That's what makes it unique. I love that. It's a driver's racetrack.
Yep, sure is. So, okay. So when you look overall at what you got coming up this year, aside from the Cars Tour, what other plans do you have for racing? Where can we expect to see Minnie Tyrrell when he's not running a Cars Tour race?
Yeah, so I believe we're going to try to run maybe some Dominion Raceway races on the off weekends of the Cars Tour.
Love that place.
Yeah, so obviously that's not a guaranteed yet. I'm not for sure on that, but I know we're going to try to get down there and obviously just stay in the seat on the off weekends. you're definitely going to see us at Martinsville Speedway this year, and obviously probably the Myrtle Beach 400 down there in the beach. Again, at the Classics, which I'll probably continue to do every year. We love that race. And obviously, just some different money races. I know the big money race that the Cars Tour is putting on. Aside from a points race, obviously, it is the Cars Tour, but very excited to run some of those.
I think the biggest money race that's going to get thrown around here is the one that's coming up at Orange County, the $30,000 to win Old North State Nationals. That one's going to be, I'll put it like that.
Yes, sir.
As Ed Sullivan used to say,
it's that one.
It's going to be a really big shoe coming up at Orange County, and I'm sure there will be a ton of competition at that one. And you talked about some of the most historic races in NASCAR late model racing, especially Martinsville, the Valley Star Credit Union 300, always a tough one. You were there last year, right, Minnie? It was kind of a rough outing, I think, for you, wasn't it?
Yes, sir. We qualified, I want to say somewhere in the 40s, but I think we just messed up there a little bit on their setup and engine combo. But other than that, we had a decent weekend. It wasn't that terrible, but we got there. I got to get a lot of practice in and a lot of laps around it and look at the racetrack. And then it was very cool. We qualified, and then obviously, unfortunately, I got wrecked out in the heat race.
Yeah.
Coming off of turn 4, the cars had wrecked, and the car in front of me had just slowed down a little bit too much, and I couldn't see off the wall. Unfortunately, popped the radiator and horns.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's a tough show to make, and it's an even tougher one to finish. So I know you'll go back this year and give it another try. So you've got a lot of people that help you make things happen here. So I want to give you a chance to give some shout-outs before we let you go.
Yes, sir, absolutely. So obviously the Friends of Jaclyn Foundation this year for coming aboard and partnering with us is obviously number one. And then obviously my whole crew, Brandon Butler, Dan Givens, my father, everybody who comes out and helps us. My mother, of course, she does a lot for me. And obviously, all the sponsors. We got Castrol Edge, and everybody who's surrounding us this year is very awesome.
If it wasn't for your mother, you wouldn't be here right now. You realize that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, Mom always is the first person I wake up and kiss goodbye to. Obviously, Dad too.
Everybody always looks at the camera. All the athletes go, "Hi, Dad," and it's like, what about Mom? I mean, she had a little bit to do with this too. Well, it's always a blast to have you on, Minnie. And you know what? If you win over the weekend, you'll be right back with us next Monday. So that should be some great incentive for you.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Have a good one, Minnie. Good luck this weekend. That's Minnie Tyrrell, and we are going to step aside. We've got more of the Stock Car Show coming up right after these words. Stick around.
You own a performance car and you know how to drive, but you want to learn real performance driving. Well, Bunky, get that car off the street and onto the track. Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier road racing facility, located just over an hour from D.C. in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, is the place to go. And you'll find that Friday at the track is going to give you what you need. For less than a monthly car payment, you can attend this regularly scheduled one-day instructional event in your street car on one of Summit Point's 3 world-class road racing circuits. You'll receive classroom instruction, skid pad instruction in their cars, including front and rear skid control, and 4 20-minute in-your-car instructional sessions from a professional instructor. Have fun, go fast, and really learn how to drive. Call 304-725-8444 for class schedules and details. That's 304-725-8444. Friday at the track at Summit Point Motorsports Park.
Is your job sucking the life out of you? Wake up. You can do something else. Information technology. I know what you're thinking, but I'm not a math and science person. No problem and no excuses, because it's not rocket science. It's My Computer Career. Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation today. You can start your new life as an IT pro in as little as 4 months. mycomputercareer.edu. That's mycomputercareer.edu.
The Performance Motorsports Network is a compilation of shows about motorsports. From technical to controversial to just fun, everything you like about racing and gearhead stuff is right here on one internet channel. The Performance Motorsports Network. Tell your friends about it.
Hi, I'm Reed Sorensen. Racing has been a part of me and my family for as long as I can remember. I had to make tough choices early on to get to the top. It took hard work and dedication. But it's those tough choices that help me prepare for challenges I would face as a cup driver. Make the right choices today and be ready for the challenges tomorrow. This message is brought to you by the U.S. Air Force.
Hi, I'm Timmy Salmito, and you're listening to Race Talk on the Performance Motorsports Network. Now back to the show.
Guess what?
Are we going to throw a modified race somewhere so I can, because like Salamito just reminded me about modifieds, got me all excited.
Next Saturday. We're going to throw a modified race at Myrtle Beach.
That's right. It is next week. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's awesome. The NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour season opener at Myrtle Beach Speedway in South Carolina, and that will be on fanschoice.tv. I thank you so much, Fans Choice and NASCAR and whoever else is responsible for finally coming to the conclusion that you ought to put all of the K&N and modified shows on fanschoice.tv so we all can watch them. Not everybody can get to the racetrack all the time, and those series deserve the opportunity for people to watch those things live. And some of them are great races.
Yes.
And I'm sure Myrtle Beach will be one of them.
Everyone's freaking out about how, worrying that if you put all these shows on fanschoice.tv, it'll hurt the attendance at the racetrack. And I don't believe that's the case at all. These are tours with very passionate fan bases, and I believe those who are going to show up at the racetrack are going to show up at the racetrack. This is about expanding the fan base and making it possible for a bigger fan base to take in the modifieds, to take in the K&N Pro Series East and West, and understand what makes those series great. And I hope at some point during this second hour we're going to talk about the K&N race in Las Vegas as well, because you want to talk about a thrilling night of competition. We had a Thursday night date at the dirt track at Las Vegas that had 3 feature events and featured not 1, not 2, but 3 last lap passes.
Yeah, it was definitely a big improvement, Randy. I thought the K&N race was this year in terms of track conditions over last year. Last year was absolutely embarrassing, and this year it actually was a fairly raceable track. Of course, it helps that you're running there with the World of Outlaws too, but Haley Deegan just showed them the short way around, at least for a lap, and it was the only lap she needed to lead.
That's very true. It's always great to have a woman driver, visit victory lane. It's even better to always see NASCAR-type cars on dirt, and I wish that NASCAR would do it. NASCAR, not trucks. NASCAR. And Xfinity, which we might get around to that, someday. But, I mean, I feel like Eldora is the best race in the truck series.
NASCAR.
All year long.
I was going to say.
To which series does that refer? Would the Xfinity be NASCAR?
NASCAR.
And then the Cup NASCAR? Is that how it works?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you add a NASCAR for every division.
So we won all the NASCARs on dirt, is what you're saying.
K&N doesn't get a NASCAR.
K&N doesn't get a NASCAR.
You get one NASCAR.
Oh.
Trucks would be
ouch.
Pretty soon ARCA will have a NASCAR.
That is very true.
So
yeah. They just won't call it NASCAR. Kind of like IMSA doesn't call it NASCAR. It's still IMSA. But
yeah. No, let's make it NARCA and we'll all be happy.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay. But, yeah, that was actually it was a good race, and it was good to see Haley win, and I think it pretty much cements the fact that Haley is going to be one to reckon with throughout the season. She obviously is more comfortable on dirt because that seems, where she comes from, but she did win a race on the pavement last year, and I think she'll win at least 1 or 2 this year in the K&N Pro Series West as well. And she got, out of that win, and I don't know if this was because of the win or it just was coincidental in timing, but she's going to get, 6 ARCA starts, I think it is, with Venturini Motorsports, something like that.
It was appropriate timing. This deal was already put together, and I actually want to unpack a few things here, but I'll start with what you mentioned. The ARCA deal with Venturini is not solely an ARCA deal. with Venturini. There's actually one additional race in that 7-race package. That's the K&N Pro Series race in August at Bristol Motor Speedway. But this deal was put together as a combination between her current partners with Monster Energy and IK9 and Extreme Concepts, which has done a lot with Toyota, with Joe Gibbs Racing, with Toyota Racing Development over the past couple of months, and really started to expand their footprint. And yes, they're going to team up with Haley to, in addition to that K&N race I mentioned at Bristol, to run a half dozen ARCA races with Venturini Motorsports this year. That's going to start at Toledo Speedway in just getting ready to go into that summer stretch. And she'll also run a couple of other historic short tracks and then add a 1.5 mile start or two later in the year when she is eligible and old enough to do that as well. But Haley's run was interesting. Much like her first K&N West victory a year ago, she only led the last lap.
Yeah.
But unlike her win from last fall, she did not do it by moving the leader out of the way. Rather, she took the fortuitous move of being able to get to the inside of Jagger Jones when a lap car screwed Jones' entry up into turns 1 and 2 on the final lap and washed him way up the racetrack and brought it back to the line despite a sock from Jagger who tried to get her back. But this was big on a lot of fronts. For Haley, I think it was a big confidence booster to show that she can go out and contend to win this championship. I believe the focus has been on her Bill McAnally teammate, Derek Kraus. And rightly so. Derek's done a lot of great things last year, and especially in his debut in the Truck Series, and I feel like was kind of the favorite going into this.
And I think he still is a favorite.
I think he still is, but I think Haley certainly made sure to remind everybody that he's not the only favorite this year, and I think that's really big. I think this was big for Jagger Jones, too, to show that he could contend and run up front very quickly with Sunrise Ford and Bob Brancati. For those who are wondering, Jones, yes, Jagger is the grandson of
Parnelli,
Indy 500 winner Parnelli Jones,
the son of
PJ.
Yeah.
Yep. So third generation there. But for Haley to go back to this, she also made a bit of history over the week or over last week as well. She is the first ever female points leader in any NASCAR sanctioned series, national or regional touring in the 72-year history of the sport.
Well, there haven't been too many
females
females that
true.
have competed in a situation to be in the points league. And I'm not trying to diminish it.
Right.
I'm just simply pointing out that
there
wasn't a wide array of
right.
But the thing that's interesting about Haley is, number one, she has charisma. She has a personality. She has the star
She really
power.
does. I loved listening to her when they brought her in the booth for a little bit of practice, the Xfinity Series practice on Friday afternoon. She's got spunk.
But she also has talent.
Yes, she does.
And I think probably bigger than all of that, and more important than all of that, everyone that I know who knows Haley and is around her in that racing environment says that she also is a real student of the sport. She wants to know what the cars are doing, how they work, all of that sort of thing. She's really trying to learn and absorb as opposed to just getting in and driving. And I think that's really important.
Absolutely.
At her stage of the game. And so, I hope that she is able to continue that progression. Of course, right now, she's in a situation where, she's got probably the best equipment in her part of the sport, with no disrespect meant to any of the other teams involved. But as she grows, obviously that all kind of equals out. So, the fact that she really does want to learn how the cars work, the setups, all of that part of it, that's what you need to know and understand in order to be successful at the top levels. And especially because she does not come from the circle track background, like Derek Kraus does, or some of the other drivers. Even
her background,
she's
off-road racing.
Yes, so again, she's adapting to a new environment. And the fact that she's got 2 wins at this stage of the game, even if one of them is on dirt, In fact, she got 2 wins this stage of the game, and her
Yes.
time in the stock car is pretty impressive.
Yes, she called the Vegas dirt race her Daytona 500. That's how much it meant to her to go out and win this race. And now that she's got that, I feel like it's going to be a lot, or at least she's, the pressure's still going to be there, but I feel like that weight is off her shoulders now. She's done the biggest goal that she set out to do. Now the rest of it is just going forward and building off of that, which is a very big deal. You mentioned that track conditions were so much better this year than last year. I'm glad that NASCAR in Las Vegas learned to give and learned enough to give this a second shot the right way. I felt like it was a very, very good race. I felt like a lot of different names impressed me, not only Jagger Jones. Austin Reed was extremely impressive in that race. I think it's a good sign for K&N West that you had some names we're not used to seeing be able to get up there and do something. Austin's not a dirt guy either, but he went out and
he did have several dirt races in a winged outlaw cart when he was over here, though.
He did.
So he does have experience.
Yes. I think it's cool to see him kind of back out west a little bit where he started and finding some success out there as well. So that's good to see. And to kind of put a bow on the whole, at least this portion.
On. Let me get one other shout out to Joey Tanner, who finished third in the JPR entry, Jefferson Pitts Racing entry. He started 15th. Didn't have the best luck in his heat race, but which, by the way, thank you for running heat races. Can we please do this like everywhere? That I think that was really a cool drive that he made from 15th to 3rd. We're going to have him on our Motorsports Madness show on Thursday.
Heat races are a dirt thing. We're not going to do it everywhere.
We should do it everywhere. It would be much more fun, especially compared to the qualifying we had last week. It was silly.
Yeah, well.
But anyways, so go ahead and put your bow. We got about a minute.
Right. I just want to put a bow on this portion of the discussion by saying, dear Las Vegas Motor Speedway, you got it right.
Yes.
Because 5 straight days of racing with the World of, and Thursday especially, to see the World of Outlaws, NASCAR K&N Pro Series, and USAC non-wing sprint cars all on the same card on the same night at the same track was badass in my book. I loved it. To see 2 days on the dirt track lead straight into trucks, Xfinity, and Cup. I wish more tracks had the capability to do something like what Las Vegas did.
Charlotte in May. Charlotte, please do it. Charlotte, please do it in May. We'll be back with more of the Stock Car Show presented by our good friends at HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsport safety, and by mycomputercareer.edu, training for a better life. Back around the turn.
How to be a great dad in 15 seconds. Bike ride, go fish, walk in the park, phone call, milkshake, play catch, picnic, fly a kite, tell jokes, laugh, talk, read a story, tell a story, bumper cars, swing set, bowling, pillow fight, cut loose, stay tight. Whew. Because the smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Automotive technicians and auto service trainees, how would you like to work at the beach and perform for one of the best car care centers in the nation? Louis Meineke is now looking for skilled automotive technicians to join their award-winning team. If you're a gearhead that knows his or her stuff, or a young up-and-comer that has the motivation and drive to succeed, then you need to make this call today. 302-827-2054. Louis Meineke Car Care Center, located in beautiful Lewis, Delaware, offers a highly competitive compensation plan, great benefits, a flexible schedule, and did we mention that you're going to be working at the beach? Plus, there's a signing bonus for the right candidates. Technicians must be ASE certified and have a minimum of 6 years experience. Beginners advance at your own pace in one of several entry-level positions. But whatever you do, don't wait. These jobs will go fast. Call Tim at 302-827-2054. That's 302-827-2054. Louis Meineke Car Care Center. Rev up your career.
You hear that? That's the sound of America's only sports car. That's right. It's a Corvette. But not just any Corvette. It's your Corvette. It's that who cares if there's traffic part of your day. And this can be you when you come to Cooper Corvettes. With 60 years of Corvettes to choose from, there's always a Corvette in your budget. And they'll service any Corvette you bring in. Cooper Corvettes on Route 1 just north of Quantico and Triangle. Call, click, or visit CooperCorvettes.com.
How to deal with someone who says that's so gay. Outsmart them.
This party is like so gay. Totally.
Excuse me, but did you ladies know the word gay used to mean happy or excited? Then it became a word used to describe gay people. Then somehow it came to mean dumb or stupid, which is how you just used it, which is not very nice.
Ew, that guy is on the football team and super smart, and he totally hates us now. Totally.
When you say that's so gay, do you realize what you say? Knock it off. Learn more at thinkbeforeyouspeak.com.
Hi, I'm Dylan Bassett, and you're listening to Race Talk on Performance Motorsports Network, the voice of motorsports.
Is this the part where we mentioned that his brother has an Xfinity ride this weekend?
That's a great idea. Why don't we talk about that real quick?
Let's talk about that real quick.
Ronnie Bassett, who, for those of you not from this particular area of the country, the Bassett brothers, Ronnie and Dylan, kind of grew up racing Bandolero's Legends cars up into the late models, and then eventually to NASCAR's K&M Pro Series East, with their own family team, and had some success in K&N, but they had a fire a couple of years back that set them back a while. They did rebuild and eventually return, but they are now out of it, and both brothers are working for
DGM Racing.
DGM
Mario
Racing.
Gosselin's race
I let
team.
you say that because I would have said DGR.
Yeah.
So DGM Racing and Ronnie going to get a chance to drive for that team at ISM Raceway in Phoenix. And that's pretty exciting, making his Xfinity Series debut. Ronnie's the older of the two brothers.
Yes.
Nicknamed Bulldog. I don't know if he's
yes.
still.
And
we'll always call him Bulldog.
Yes, and both brothers, as a matter of fact, are working for Mario on DGM Racing. They've been helping out Josh Williams at that team for a good portion of last season into this year. But Ronnie, as you mentioned, going to get his shot in the number 90 car, the second DGM Racing car, this weekend at ISM Raceway, the Jewel in the Desert, as they've taken to calling it. Good grief, I was looking at some pictures between the new media center and all the improvements they've made in the infield, and with flipping the track, that place is nice.
ISM has really put a lot into their partnership with the Speedway, and of course the Speedway doing a lot on its own as well. And if you've been out there but not for a year or two, you should go back because you probably won't recognize the place. It is radical, the changes that have been made there.
Absolutely.
Really state-of-the-art, lots of video opportunities, that kind of thing. Just a really cool place, it looks like. So I think everybody's in for a treat with the upcoming weekend. Want to kind of transition to the Xfinity Series from that
I was
starting
say,
point.
let us talk Xfinity.
Yeah, and I mean, I think everybody picked Kyle Busch the minute we knew he was entered at Vegas.
He made it hard on himself.
Well, I like to look at it as he spotted the rest of the field.
And they still couldn't beat him.
Still couldn't beat him because we see this all the time, and we see it in the truck series too. You know, always something happening on pit road in these situations, and it's almost like, okay, hold my beer, and then he, he just blows up through the field and wins. John Hunter Nemechek didn't make it easy on him, though. Boy,
no.
I thought for just a little bit that
John Hunter had a shot at him on the final, on that double overtime restart, stayed with him all the way to turn 3, and just could not, at the end of the day, stay with him off the exit of the corner to be side by side at the white flag. But what the telling stat for me in John Hunter's runner-up finish, that's the best finish for that GMS Racing number 23 car in the Xfinity Series since last August at Watkins Glen International with A.J. Allmendinger behind the wheel of that car. And I believe that's indicative that this program is going in the right direction, that John Hunter Nemechek is bringing it a level up, and that that team is going to contend for victories going forward. But really, while you're talking about John Hunter Nemechek, you've got to talk about the two guys that really should have been in contention with Kyle Busch to battle for the win, but were eliminated on that first overtime restart, because the two guys who really were the show all day were Tyler Reddick and Christopher Bell.
Yep.
And up until the caution with 12 to go that really set the wheels in motion here, they were the only ones within 25 seconds of Kyle Busch.
Well, and again, some of that is just the way that the race played out.
I don't want to call it was that much as it was those three were that much better than the rest of the field.
Yeah, but again, not a lot of caution action, not a lot of stuff going on, so the momentum, they just get out and run away, and nobody, you just don't have a chance to stop them. But Busch, let's just run through the top five here real quick, because there's some things right in the top five to talk about. Kyle Busch getting the win, Nemechek second, we talked about them. Noah Gragson, again, benefited from, the overtime and the couple restarts. He did not have necessarily a top five performance all day.
He was tree wide on the last lap.
Yeah, he was definitely trying to get up there, and I'm glad to see Noah get a top three, and Austin Dillon finishing fourth in the 10 car for Colleague Racing, and his teammate Justin Haley at top 10. So good to see both Colleague cars. And then Michael Annett, there's a guy that we didn't spend a lot of time talking about in Atlanta last week after winning Daytona, but boy,
was good.
He came out and ran really well at Vegas. And how about Ryan Sieg and Chastain?
I have a stat. This is a great stat.
Quick.
Well, here's the deal. There are two drivers in the first three Xfinity races that have finished in the top 11 in all three races. One of them is Noah Gragson. You want to tell me who the other one was?
Ross Chastain and Ryan Sieg.
No, I said there were two drivers.
I thought there were three.
No, Noah Gragson was one. Ryan Sieg is the other. And that, to me, is amazingly telling of how big the strides are that RSS Racing has made during the off-season. They picked up, I believe, some of Chip Ganassi's race cars when that Xfinity team went away.
Happened.
And have really, they picked up Shane Wilson, I believe, as Ryan's crew chief, as well. As we know, he was working with Kaz Gralla last year during Kaz's part-time schedule, but I believe Shane is now working with that 39 team, and they have made some just tremendous strides over there. To see that team running well, see Ryan where he is in points, that team is going to be a major threat to make the playoffs. And while we're talking about small teams making a big impact, I thought Bobby Dotter was going to cry on pit road after the race.
Yeah.
His two race cars, Ray Black Jr. and Gray Galding, finishing 11th and 12th, right on the fringe of the top 10. That is a win for SS Greenlight Racing, to not only to have one car up there, but to have both cars up there. That was a tremendous showing late in the going.
It is, and Randy, this brings up the question. I mean, we're getting slightly picky now because you've got Ross Chastain, who technically is, I suppose you could call him a moonlighter, except that he's actually not really going for points in Cup.
Yes, he's going for Xfinity Series points.
Right, but Randy, if you take Busch and Dillon out, you move everybody up a couple spots. Are we starting to see, Randy, a little bit of a changing of the guard in Xfinity to the point where you've got some of these teams like Sieg and, again, Chastain's team with JD Motorsports, and you just got some teams like Greenlight that are able to at least run at or inside the top 10 and make things more interesting?
Yeah, I mean, this is what we want to see, right? I mean, we want to see, the Xfinity, regulars running out front. That's what we all – I think we all pretty much agree that we hate seeing the Cup guys, dipping down here and running, especially when you have guys like Kyle Busch that lead every single lap most of the time. And,
I don't want to make this just about Kyle.
But you're right.
For me,
it's great. It's great to see. Not only when people like Michael Annett start running better, when those guys have big money and big funded teams, but the little guys, the little guys, the Ross Chastains, the Ryan Siegs, the teams that struggled for several years just to stay in the Xfinity Series or even stay afloat. are now starting to get this top tens and starting to make the money they need to go to all these tracks. Because, I mean, if this trend that we were seeing would have kept up, we would not be seeing half of these cars probably even on the racetrack right now.
I agree. And so I want to get to Tyler Reddick for a minute because, we talked about when he first announced that he was leaving Junior Motorsports after winning the championship and going over to Richard Childress Racing. I think we all sort of thought, okay, you need to call Dr. Phil because you ain't right. Okay, well, he goes over to Richard Childress, and all he's done is the same thing or better than what he was doing with Junior Motorsports, and he's really a solid contender at this point for the championship again.
Newsflash. Anyone who believed that Tyler Reddick was making a mistake going to Richard Childress Racing, you are wrong, and you are very wrong, because Tyler Reddick, as you mentioned, has been the thorn in everyone's side the first 3 weeks of this season. The only reason he didn't get a top finish at Daytona was because the field strung out and nobody could do anything to run side by side. Number 2, he goes to Atlanta and pressures Christopher Bell all the way to the end. Number 3, he comes to Vegas and has a shot at passing Kyle Busch for the win, coming to the white flag of overtime, number 1, and just oversteps the line a tiny bit and ends up collecting himself and Christopher Bell and a couple others. But nobody let it be said that Tyler Reddick hasn't been going for it 110%. He has been. This championship last November, anyone who wants to say it was a fluke, I feel like the first 3 weeks of this season show it's absolutely no fluke at all. Tyler Reddick, mark my words, Tyler Reddick will be back in the Final Four in November and have a shot at defending his title.
Well, and I'm going to tell you another driver that I think could very well be with him, and that is Brandon Jones. We've seen a different driver this year for Joe Gibbs Racing, Randy, in that 19 car. He seems a lot more confident, a lot more comfortable. It's almost like he's driving like a Joe Gibbs Racing driver now and really feeling comfortable in the car. The last 2 weeks, he's been really fun to watch. New crew chief for him as well. And I just think it's a different situation now. He's had a year over there. And I think Brandon's going to get a win or two before this year's out.
Yeah, I mean, it takes experience. I mean, it takes seat time. Any rookie driver will tell you, that their main goal the first year is just to get the seat time in and, log laps and not try to wreck the cars and bring them back in one piece. And he did all that last year. This year, it's time to go out and actually show what you can do. And I mean, Gibbs given him, some more help, some more, better crew chief, better crew, whatever, better cars, I guess. Yeah. Even, it's his. The reins have been handed to you now, and it's your time to go out and show what you can do. And he's definitely proven he can do it.
This is a competitive NASCAR Xfinity Series this year, much more so, I think, than we've seen even in the last couple of years. And I think there's going to be a fun stretch of races coming up for those guys, too, with the tracks they're running.
Yes, and I actually want to divert away from the NASCAR Xfinity Series conversation for just a moment before we go to break. And actually, I just, in the last 30 seconds to a minute here as this show airs live, have an update on our top story for the evening.
Okay.
Actually, a positive update, I would say, all things considered. Just got a release and some news on Tanner Thorson from his crew chief at Tri-C Motorsports, Lee Lindgren. Tanner is out of surgery, had surgery on his arm for a fracture and also has a broken foot. He's going to be out of action for a while, but Lee said he's expected to make a full recovery. And God knows it could have been so much worse.
Well, looking at the pictures, I mean, I understand, that the truck looked worse because of the fire, but
yes,
goodness gracious, thank God, because that whole, like you said, could have been that much worse. So good for him, and we hope a quick recovery for Tanner, and he can get back to action when he's ready to go. With that, we're going to step aside. When we come back more, we've got trucks to talk about. We've got a lot of things to talk about. We're going to talk about pit road a little bit too, because that reared its ugly head again at Vegas this weekend. So that's coming up before the show's over as well. You're listening to the Stock Car Show, presented by HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsport safety. We'll be right back.
Parents, your son or daughter has had their license for a while now, but you want to make sure they're prepared for any situation they may face on the road. High school driver's ed doesn't teach them to drive defensively. They need to be prepared for any highway emergency. For less than a month's insurance, and a whole lot less, BSR instructors at Summit Point Motorsports Park in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, will teach your son or daughter how to respond instantly and positively to unexpected situations on the road. BSR's specialized accident avoidance training teaches swerve to avoid maneuvers at highway speed, ocular driving, which focuses driving attention on ways to avoid accidents, vehicle dynamics and feedback, skid control and skid recovery, threshold braking on straights and progressive braking on curves, and off-road recovery techniques. This is stuff driver's ed simply doesn't teach. So call BSR today, 304-725-8444. Give your kid the skill set needed to drive safely and responsibly on the highway. That's 304-725-8444.
You hear that? That's the sound of America's only sports car. That's right. It's a Corvette. But not just any Corvette. It's your Corvette. It's that who cares if there's traffic part of your day. And this can be you when you come to Cooper Corvettes. With 60 years of Corvettes to choose from, there's always a Corvette in your budget. And they'll service any Corvette you bring in. Cooper Corvettes on Route 1 just north of Quantico and Triangle. Call, click, or visit CooperCorvettes.com.
HMS Motorsport is the leader in motorsport safety. HMS serves the majority of Monster Energy NASCAR Cup, Xfinity, Camping World Truck, IndyCar, and IMSA WeatherTech teams, as well as countless SCCA and club-level racers and driving enthusiasts throughout North America. Featuring world-renowned brands like Schuberth helmets, Schroep belts, Adidas suits and shoes, Lifeline fire systems, and even Racecom radio kits, HMS has the right product for your type of racing and your budget. Their representatives are experts on only one thing: making your track driving as safe as possible. With locations in Mooresville, North Carolina, and Danvers, Massachusetts, the HMS staff is always ready to take the time to help you find the right product for your safety needs. Don't settle for second when it comes to motorsport safety. Stop in to HMS Motorsport. Visit them on their website at hmsmotorsport.com or send them a message on Facebook and tell them the folks from PMN Radio sent you.
Hi, this is John Ondrasik of Five for Fighting, here for RAD, the entertainment industry's voice for road safety. You know, style is a personal thing, and your lifestyle is your business. But if you take it on the road, it becomes everybody's business. So please, plan ahead, designate before you celebrate. Friends, don't let friends drive drunk.
A public service announcement brought to you by RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Harrison Rhodes, and you're listening to Race Talk on the Performance Motorsports Network.
Something about air drumming to Metallica in a dress shirt that just doesn't seem right. I don't know. It's kind of awkward. Welcome back to the Stock Car Show, presented by HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsport safety, and also mycomputercareer.edu, training for a better life and training more like trucking at Las Vegas Motor Speedway last Friday night. And, well, Kyle Busch got the win, but again, Kyle didn't make it easy on himself, or shall I say the crew didn't. That was a loose wheel situation.
No, Saturday was
Oh, that was Saturday. What was Friday?
Friday was nothing. He ran away and hid on Friday night.
I was thinking there was a pit road thing on Friday, too. I guess not.
No,
Okay.
Kyle just
Saturday and Sunday.
Kyle embarrassed him Friday night. It was Sunday where Kyle shot himself in the foot with the speeding penalty, and Saturday it was the loose wheel on the Xfinity car. And rookie crew chief Ben Beshore got an earful after that one.
Yeah.
But no, Friday was as clean a cruise as you can expect in a truck race with Kyle Busch in it. He led 110 of 134 laps, and nobody could really touch him save for Brett Moffitt, who tried with 15 to go, and then dirty air, and Kyle just ran away.
A pit mistake.
Brett definitely, and that wasn't even a fault of anybody really. The air hose just got snagged underneath the rear fender and cost them a ton of time. So to see him rally, to see Matt Crafton rally from damage on lap 7 to finish third, that 88 team team, I think, is final. As Crafton said after the race, I think they're finally back in a big way.
Well, it feels like it. And Randy, it's been long enough for Matt Crafton. Just when you start to think, well, maybe it's time, he goes out and rattles off a top 3 and actually looks like Matt Crafton in that recovery from the early crash on Friday night. And, we'll see where it goes from here.
It's because I picked him a couple of weeks ago to win.
Oh, there
I
you
gave
go.
him the motivation.
Gave him a little
I
boot
gave
in
him
the bottom
motivation to win. Yeah, no, it's good. It's good to see him, back running out front. I mean, he's one of the staples in the truck series. So when you don't see him running out front, you're like, where's Matt Crafton at?
Yeah.
And last year was just a dismal year for him. So to have him come back, and then all of his teammates are running fast too. So I mean, it's not like he's the only one on the Thor Sport team running good. Everybody's running good. So when everybody's running good, everybody's happy.
And again, this was an interesting. I mean, except for Kyle's part of it, this was an interesting Truck Series race because you look at 4th, Stuart Friesen, 5th, Harrison Burton, neither of them necessarily big surprises, but Sheldon Creed finishing up in 6th. And, here's a driver that I think over the course of the season, Jacob, you're just going to see Sheldon get better and better and better and better. And if he would just dial it back just a little bit, I think you'd start seeing him race for wins, and I think he'll figure that out as the season goes. Todd Gilliland finishing in 7th and very frustrated that he hasn't won a race yet. But you know what? It just isn't easy winning races in the Truck Series anymore, and I know he's going to get there. Yeah, well, that's exactly right.
But I struggle with hearing you say he was frustrated because Todd actually said in his post-race interview that he was happier than he's been with where they've been at the last few weeks. He felt like the run they had Friday night was actually a really positive step in the right direction for them. He's frustrated with not winning.
That's what I'm saying. It's just driving him nuts that he hasn't been able to be up there racing for wins.
Right.
And I think he got a little bit of motivation, shall we say, from Kyle after Atlanta. When he made a comment about, I have the same stuff he does. Why is he so fast? Well, experience counts. And that's really what you're seeing here. Kyle Busch he's just 10 times better because he's been racing 10 times longer than, his teammates have at this point. So, it's one of those things where I think Todd will find his way, but, he's just still got some learning to do. Johnny Sauter, an unspectacular 8th. Ryan Reed finished 9th in his debut for DGR Crossley in the 17 truck. An okay run for Ryan. At least he was up there in the mix most of the day. And here we go again. Ross Chastain, no matter what you put him in, Randy, Ross Chastain runs it in the top 10 or 15. Even the Cup car, he's been 15th to 20th here and there. And he just gets more out of everything he drives than what it has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we always talk about, Ross Chastain the last few weeks. He's driving in every series and, running up front in every single series. But can we skip down a couple of spots and talk about Natalie Decker in 13th?
Yes, I was going to do that.
That was a great run for her.
And yes, she was in or around the top 10 most of the day. Mm-hmm. And she really did a good job. And actually, Anthony Alfredo did too. He didn't get the finish that he deserved, but finishing 18th. But he ran, up in the top 5, in the top 10. He did a good job for somebody in his second ever start in a truck. And I think, again, Anthony's a driver that's just going to get better and better. DGR had a good, impressive performance.
Yeah, and headlined by a driver who's been out of the seat for the first part of this year, but got an opportunity to get back in a truck over the weekend, Ryan Reed, who got a great top 10 finish and was on the lead lap in the 17 truck for DGR Crosley. It was solid. It was quiet.
Good, steady run.
But you're right.
Steady
was the steady's actually a good word to describe it, I think. It wasn't flashy, but it was what Ryan needed, I think, to potentially attract more partners. And I'd like to see him back with DGR Crosley a little bit more later in the year if the right pieces come together for that, because I do feel like that was a good combination. And, Ryan really started to show some of the speed that I feel like had been missing when he was at Roush Fenway. No disrespect to Roush Fenway, mind you, because even Roush Fenway on the Cup side looked a whole lot better than they have lately over the weekend too.
Okay, so now that we've kind of wrapped up the 3 events, I want to go back a little bit because I know it's not our lightning round, but I want to do this particular piece now because we have some other things to get to. Pit road became an issue again in a couple of different ways over the course of the weekend. And what we had was Kyle Busch getting penalized for being, wait for it, and listen carefully, 1/10 of a mile an hour over the pit road speed.
Okay.
Now, wait, don't interrupt me for once. Let me finish this. 1/10 of a mile an hour. Now, I understand that we have to draw a line somewhere. I get it. But by the same token, you had another pit road penalty happen over the weekend because somebody reached over the box and touched pit road with their hand. Now, look, here's my 2 cents on this. I understand NASCAR is trying to keep a level playing field. I understand we have a pit road speed. I understand we have rules. But we, again, we're micromanaging the human element right out of the sport. Being 1/10 of a mile an hour over pit road speed didn't affect Kyle Busch's performance one way or the other, and somebody's hand touching pit road didn't affect that driver's pit race performance one way or the other either. There's got to be a point here where we get back to common sense.
Okay, I'm going to stop you now on your rant because...
I stopped myself. Go ahead. You got 2 minutes.
Why are you choosing now to make a big deal over the 1/10 of a mile an hour thing when it's been publicly noted more than once that drivers have been hit for 1/10 or 2/10 of a mile an hour by Steve O'Donnell? The point is the speed. The point is NASCAR already gives these drivers 5 miles an hour over the posted speed limit. The posted speed limit on the whole weekend, 45 miles an hour. NASCAR gives them all the way up to 50.000. If you go over that, you deserve to get popped with a penalty. Period.
Okay, so here's your homework for the week, Jacob. I want you to put your butt in a stock car or a truck, and I want you to go take laps at Las Vegas, and I want you to go and train yourself to be 1/10 of a mile an hour accurate on your pit stops. Hold on. This is insanity.
I'm sorry.
Speed
limit's 45. He was 50.1.
1/10 of a mile an hour. Are we getting this, folks?
They have red lights. If you turn on red lights on your dashboard, you get a penalty.
You can justify silliness all you want.
It's not silly. It's the facts.
I don't care about facts at this point.
You realize that the pit road speed limit was put in place as a safety measure?
Yes, I do. And I also understand that we now are penalizing pit crew members for being over the wall too soon by a half a second. You cannot judge in your human mind 1/2 of a second. We are to a point where NASCAR is being ridiculously picky about all of this crap, and it's causing drivers to lose races over something that is beyond human recognition. You have to allow human beings to be human beings. NASCAR's got 738,000 cameras on pit road now, and we're just exploding penalties everywhere for things that human beings can't process with their minds. And it's taking the racing out of the racing, and we're costing drivers wins because either somebody leaves a tire a half an inch over a line for 3 or 4 seconds, or somebody jumps over the wall a quarter of a second too soon, or a driver has to make a 90-degree turn from 200 miles an hour down to 50 in 1 second and 1 1/10 of a mile an hour, and they're popped, and it could cost, if it wasn't Kyle Busch, it would have cost him the race. I'm sorry. You can argue all you want about rules being rules. I am calling NASCAR out and saying, if you want fans' butts back in the seats and you want people watching these races on TV, you have to use reasonable common sense and logic to differentiate between keeping pit roads safe and unwittingly interfering in the race by taking a driver off the racetrack for fractions of a second. We gotta get this back under control because this is ridiculous what happened over the weekend. I'm sorry, that's how I feel. It's my show. There's my opinion. Feel free to disagree at Race Chaser Tom on Twitter, or go to Race Chaser Media and send me hate mail if you want. The bottom line is we're just over the line now. We're taking the human element out of it. We'll be back with more of the Stock Car Show. It's our lightning round where we usually fight. Back with more right after this.
When do you think of a plumber? Like most people, even if it's an emergency, you can be confident about who will arrive to help you. For quality and reliability, count on someone you can trust. Call on the plumbing services of Hague Quality Water of Maryland. Plumbing doesn't have to be an emergency. We handle all kinds of preventative maintenance too. Hague Quality Water of Maryland is family owned here in Annapolis since 1993. For a refreshing choice, call us at 888-84-WATER or visit us online.
Here at Lewis Meineke, we're more than just your average car care center. Hey, it's Dave, your neighbor from Lewis Meineke. Whether you need an oil change, brakes, tires, or anything under the hood, we've got you covered. Take advantage of our free check engine light service as well. Yes, free. And don't forget about our free shuttle service. Never stress, we'll take care of the rest. On with life. Give us a call at Lewis Meineke, 302-827-2054.
Is your job sucking the life out of you? Wake up. You can do something else. Information technology. I know what you're thinking, but I'm not a math and science person. No problem and no excuses, because it's not rocket science. It's My Computer Career. Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation today. You can start your new life as an IT pro in as little as 4 months. mycomputercareer.edu. That's mycomputercareer.edu.
Do you love the sound of high-revving motors and the smell of burning rubber? Do you want to get your car sideways right at the ragged edge of control? If you've always wanted to try drifting or learn to improve your drifting skills, Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier motorsports facility, has the expert instructors and the specialized track to teach you how to drift and the skills necessary to drift competitively. From skid pad to open sessions, Summit Point Motorsports Park has the safe and open environment that allows drifters of all skill levels, new to intermediate, to get sideways and smoking. With a focus on safety and the skill set necessary to drift competitively, Summit Point Motorsports Park's Drift Nirvana is just the thing for you. Call for your reservation today, 304-725-8444. Or for more information, go online, summitpoint-raceway.com, or you can email them at office@bsrinc.com. Drift Nirvana, getting you sideways the right way.
If you own a gun, you have a full-time responsibility. When you aren't using it, be sure it can't get into the hands of curious children, troubled teenagers, a thief, or anyone else who might misuse it. Your family, friends, and neighbors are all counting on you. Remember, always, lock it up. For more information on firearms storage safety, visit ncpc.org. This message brought to you by the National Crime Prevention Council, the Bureau of Justice Assistance, and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Matt Tift, and you're listening to Race Talk on the Performance Motorsports Network.
Welcome back to the Stock Car Show here on the Performance Motorsports Network and on Spreaker as we continue with tonight's program. And, of course, we just got finished disagreeing on speeding on pit road, and we just got finished talking about how NASCAR enforced the rules as they're written. That was not my argument. I fully agree that NASCAR enforced the rules as written. Congratulations to NASCAR for doing that. I just want the rules changed. I want the human element being allowed to be back into this because we've just squished it right out of everything. Okay, as we go forward, I want to talk about two things here in the lightning round. The first thing I want to talk about is the upcoming St. Petersburg race. The IndyCar set getting their season opener underway. And you know what? I look at the IndyCar roster for this year, and I look at the teams, and I look at who's driving where, and I look at the situation. Not much change in the cars themselves, except that they're bringing back the, what do they call them? The little LED thing where you can tell what
the position panel.
Position panel, yeah. Yep. They're bringing I
like that.
Dear IndyCar, you know that you are doing the right thing when the biggest change to the cars from last season is bringing back an LED panel. The reason I say that is because in an era when people complain about NASCAR changing rules every year and car rules and all of that packages, IndyCar has found a formula. And I'm going to tell you, this series, this is a model. Jay Fry, the way he's brought IndyCar back is, as far as I'm concerned, this is a model for how you do it. And I'm expecting that this year's IndyCar television package with NBC Sports, I'm expecting the competition in all ways. I think this is going to be a huge season for IndyCar. I'm not big on St. Pete as a course because generally you don't see a ton of passing and a ton of great racing there, but it's kind of the traditional season opener. So I'm going to get right to here, and I'll go around the table. I'll start with Randy because he's over there in the tech shed handling the audio controls. Randy, who wins St. Petersburg?
Wow, that's a hard question to answer. I don't really know. I mean, you have to go with the power hitters. So I mean, well, I guess you don't have to, but for me, I go with the power hitters. I would say
2-inch slim.
You're Scott Dixon's probably. I would say Scott Dixon.
Scott, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I say he defends his championship with a win to begin the season.
Scott Dixon. All right. Well, we know that Chris Murdoch's going with Will Power. That's sort of a wish as much as it is, but it's probably a pretty safe pick in all things being considered. Jacob, yes, no?
I think Chris Murdoch is wrong. And watch,
why is that not a surprise to me?
Watch this, y'all. Not only do I think Chris Murdoch is wrong about Will Power, I think inherently Chris Murdoch is wrong because I don't believe that any of the Team Penske cars, God bless Roger Penske for being the captain of all motorsports right now. Because,
yes,
by the way, his Mustangs won the Supercars opener in Australia as well. However, Roger Penske is not going to be the captain on Sunday in St. Petersburg. You know why? Because the guy who has become the modern era king of St. Petersburg is going to win the season opener for the third year in a row. I'm calling it now. Sebastian Bourdais wins again.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, we have my cohort over here, Jacob, going out on the half-inch limb.
That's not a half-inch limb. It's Dale Coyne Racing.
It's a half-inch limb.
No, it's not.
Sebastian Bourdais is the hottest hand at St. Pete, and you're right. But sooner or later, somebody else has got to win it. And I'm actually going to go with Alex Rossi.
You're going with the redemption story.
Yeah, I'm going with the redemption story. And I also believe that Alex Rossi, the way that last year went for him, if he can even step it up just a notch, Alex Rossi may be your champion in IndyCar this year.
I believe he's very capable of being the champion this year.
So I think
he's got to get past Scott Dixon to do it, though.
Well, that's true. He's got to start somewhere, and I think he starts with a win at St. Pete. And I love the way that IndyCar, as we go toward the Indy 500 this year, I mean, you're looking at what?
36 to 38.
Yeah.
36 to 38. And guess what?
Well, hang on. We haven't even talked about needing Buddy Rice to get there.
But I don't even want to talk about Indy. Like,
well,
hang
I'm just
on a minute.
saying.
And
that's important.
It's not Buddy Rice. It's Buddy Lazier. Buddy Rice retired a while ago.
Has been retired a while ago.
Yeah. Okay. Hang on. I want to go back to St. Pete for a minute because I have a dark horse.
Okay.
My dark horse, God bless me, This is my limb for the week. My dark horse, not just for a top 5 finish, but my dark horse to win this race.
Get ready, Randy.
Colton Herta.
Well, I don't know. I'm not. I guess that would be a dark horse, but it wasn't.
Absolutely, it's a dark
wasn't
horse.
It wasn't as dark of a horse as I thought you may be going
You
to.
strung that out really, really
yeah,
far?
usually when he goes through all that, it's like the guy in 25th.
Nobody's giving the Rook. Nobody's giving the Rook any credit. Colton Herta was second and first in IndyCar spring training a couple weeks ago. He has all the focus on him. As much as I hate it for Pato O'Ward, who doesn't look like is going to be on the grid this weekend, but. Colton has the speed, Colton has the talent, Colton has the team. I believe that team will finish top 5 and have a shot to win the race.
But that's why I don't see it as a huge dark horse, because Pato O'Ward in the season finale last year made that team look like a winning team. I mean, I think that team legitimately has what it takes to go contend for a win. And so the question becomes, is Colton Herta ready? And he certainly looked good, as you put it, in spring training. We'll see where it goes. Zach Veach, also impressive in spring training, and I think he's another one. The road courses seem to be his friend, and I think he's another one for Andretti. And we keep talking about Marco, and then he keeps not producing. But
yeah,
Marco's it's an interesting conversation right now to talk about Marco, because Marco has made some statements lately that make me believe that maybe finally this could be a year when we see Marco at least take a step toward being, and here's what I've been hearing. You hear him talk about how he's far more relaxed this year. He's not going to be so worried about, championships, and obviously he's there just to win races, and he's not putting all this pressure on himself. You hear things like that. This is not the Marco Andretti that we're used to hearing from. So maybe this year he's finally at a point where he can just go out and race and not be so uptight. There are some drivers that you just feel like they almost put too much pressure on themselves, and I think Marco just needs to go run races and not worry about it. But I think I think that you're right. I think Colton Herta could be an interesting name to watch in this race, and I actually hope he does well. And the reason why is because we need some new names to talk about. And, there's a lot being put into Colton.
Yes.
There's a lot of money behind him. Steinbrenner's put a lot into him. They basically, dump Pato O'Ward because of Colton. This is the guy that Steinbrenner's bet his future on. So Colton needs to go out and he needs to produce. And I think he has the talent to do that. Whether we're going to see it in the opening race or not is a different story. But I see about 3 or 4 teams this year that are, I feel like, are almost even Steven
right
as we start the season. I don't think you can say this is going to be Penske versus Scott Dixon for the championship. You're going to have 2 or 3 other teams in this as well.
I believe it. Hey,
and maybe Colton Herta being one of them.
Hey, you were talking, by the way, about not even needing Buddy Lazier to get to a full field.
Buddy Lazier.
Guess what? It is not even opening weekend yet, and we already officially have a full field confirmed 33 cars for the Indianapolis 500, and that's not even counting some of the other efforts that tend to usually be in the works. You expect a third car from A.J. Foyt. You expect potential. You always expect a couple more cars out of the Dale Coyne Racing stable, 1 to 2. So there's potentially 3 more cars.
Is the third Rahal? Is that included in the 33?
Yes, that is Jordan King's entry.
We've got quite a bit.
So that's that could bring you to 36 right there, with 1 or 2 surprises out there. Could bring us to 38.
Yes, for sure, and that would be awesome, because then we would actually have a bump day that means something, which I'm all in favor of.
Yes, we know Pato O'Ward is going to factor in somewhere. He's got the money.
Please, somebody put the kid in the car. One that can win, preferably. Okay, we've got probably a minute or so. I really wanted to do a better Cars Tour opener preview than this, but we ran along with the Indy stuff. Real quickly, Cars Tour, Southern National Motorsports Park. You've got 2 divisions in action, Super Late Models, NASCAR Late Models.
$10,000 to win.
$10,000 to win. If you want to watch the race and you can't be at the track, 3 o'clock on Saturday afternoon, Eastern Time, CarsTour.tv is where you can go find it. We've got Adam Lemke teaming with Josh Berry, Adam's first race for Junior Motorsports. You've got all kinds of – this is going to be a huge field, and it's going to be some great racing. So we're going to have more coverage on next week's show because we're going to have boots on the ground there with Chris Murdoch, and going to be fun to see what happens at the Cars Tour event. Take us out.
All right, so that brings us to the end of this show. We want to thank our partners with Strutmasters, MyComputerCareer.edu, and HMS Motorsport. Remind you that we will be back here next Monday for another edition of the Stock Car Show. For Tom Baker, Randy Miller, Chris Murdoch, all behind the scenes, I'm Jacob Seelman. Keep it off the wall, and if you're headed to a racetrack, we might just see you there. Have a safe racing weekend. Good night.
You've been listening to the Stock Car Show on the Performance Motorsports Network. Stay tuned to Performance Motorsports Network for more race talk. For the latest motorsports news, visit RaceChaserOnline.com. The Stock Car Show is a copyrighted production of the Performance Motorsports Network. www.performancemotorsportsnetwork.com. A member of the Scorpion Radio Group Incorporated, and may not be rebroadcast, replicated, or saved in any media without the explicit written permission of PMN. Check out our Facebook page or our section on the PMN website. The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host, co-host, and guests, and do not necessarily reflect those of the management and ownership of either the Performance Motorsports Network or Scorpion Radio Group Incorporated, the advertisers, or the marketing partners. Be listening again next week when the Stock Car Show returns on Thursday night at 7 Eastern. Until then, stay tuned for more great motorsports programming on the Performance Motorsports Network.